Hey there, do you hear that? Sounds like I'm in an air tunnel, because I am. After like 2 months of playing around on a DIY project, I fixed the air conditioning in my RV, otherwise formerly known as the Docmobile. Now it's known as my RV. All right, I'm gonna walk out of here because that noise is too much. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in my life and maybe in yours. Come on, bud. Okay. Last night, I went to a social event in our neighborhood, and I bumped into a friend of mine, another man of a certain age. He's a pluser. He's, I think, he might be a plus. I'm a +6, 55 plus. He's, I think, maybe a +9, maybe, or 10. He might be right at that age where he could get Medicare or whatever, and he's had a good career. And I don't even know why I did this, because I hate when people do it to me. First thing I said to him is, how much longer are you working? And you know what he said to me? It was amazing. It was a lesson for me. He said, I don't know. I get that question. Everybody asks me that question, but I'm having fun. Boom. Amazing. So, as usual with these videos, I'm going to be rambling, and we're going to do this in one take. I was taking stuff too seriously. I took the branding, the Defender of Caregivers branding off the RV. I'm still very much a caregiver advocate and still very much involved with caregiver events, but I've laid down my sword and my shield in the sense that I don't want to be so serious about that. I wasn't even listening to my own message about let humor work. You know, I was sharing messages with humor, but in my heart, I was being too serious, and I think it impacted me. So now I'm going around as the retired comic, which is also confusing people. But the thing is throughout my career, when I realized things were getting too serious from time to time, and I was a young man trying to conquer the world, there's a couple of times where I just wasn't having fun. And I would, take a pay cut sometimes a promotion, to leave that environment. And then, not that it was a serial thing that would happen again, but if I wasn't having fun again, I would switch. And then I finally learned to just embrace the switch that's in me and switch myself, to let humor work. And that's where I am now. I'm a man of a certain age. I get the question all the time, when am I going to retire? And the truth of the matter is, I'm having fun. And if you're even thinking about being able to retire, you're at a point to do something and let humor work. Here's what I mean. There's a thing called emotional reasoning. It's a cognitive distortion. It's a stinking thinking pattern that we all use when we're stressed. And ironically, it might be first world problems, but thinking of retiring is stressful. Are you looking at it as dumping all your problems and moving on to a future with no problems? Because I guarantee you, that's not what life is. Retired or working, that's not what life is. You're always going to be working. You're always going to be running. And, while you're running, while you're working, like I've been working on that air conditioner for so long because I couldn't get anybody else to do it. Regular air conditioning people said, no, I don't work on RVs. RV people said, no, we don't work on anything that we didn't sell. So had to do it myself. And I did it with some help from an electrician friend of mine that's also involved in, he likes old Chevy vans. And anyway, we figured it out. And turns out that once you put in a new air conditioning unit, you have to plug it in. Actually, it's not quite that simple, but then again, it was. Like, we didn't take out the old one because it wasn't plugged in. The old one died. But in the process of taking it out, the plug that would power it came unplugged. So all this time when I couldn't get the new one to work, it wasn't because of a thermostat. It was because it wasn't plugged in. DIY, baby, like they say in comedy. That's comedy. Let humor work. Got to keep laughing. So, emotional reasoning. I didn't lose my train of thought. You thought I did. Emotional reasoning is where The more emotional you get about something, the more you think that something is real, the more true you think it is. Whatever you have in your mind, if you get emotional and upset about it, it becomes more and more the path. Like, I got to retire. Or you listen to a financial advisor that tells you, you know, no, don't pay off that because that's good debt and it's low interest rate and you've got this over there. So what? If you're playing around with that and emotionally you think you're going to be better off by getting rid of that, then get rid of it. Get rid of it. You don't have to make every decision to perfection. You can just do what makes you peace, gives you peace in your heart. I mean, don't do it willy-nilly, but you are allowed to let calmness into your heart. There was the whole thing with let humor work is I'm not trying to tell people to be comics. I'm not trying to tell people to always be funny. There's danger in that, especially in the workplace. But there's not danger in being lighthearted and enjoying the moment. So here's what I want to say about retirement. You're going to be running. You're going to be running no matter what. That's life. It stays in motion. And I hope you're still in motion at somehow. A lot of my retired friends are in one of two camps. They either don't know how they ever worked because they're so busy, and that's probably the healthier side of it, and the others are bored out of their mind and they're thinking about going back to work. So here, if you're on the edge, don't think of it as an all or nothing thing, which is another distorted thought. Nothing is ever all or nothing. If you retire from a job where you're making a nice salary and you take your Social Security as soon as you're able to, you can only make, I think it's $22,000. I'm not a financial expert, but that's how I understand it now. So if you decide to go back to work, you're going to be limited in how much you can make, and it's kind of a trap. So if you don't like what you're doing, if you hate what you're doing, by all means, I didn't stay in those situations historically, and I certainly wouldn't now if you were close to retirement. But look for something out there. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that will give you the world can be yours as far as how you run your your day-to-day life, as long as you have good stewardship and fiduciary accountability for that nonprofit. They would be glad to have an executive. And you're not going to make what you're making now, but you'll make more than Social Security plus retirement. So that's one way to let humor work. Continue to work, but do something that brings you more joy and less stress, and push off the decision to retire a little bit longer. Okay, all right, I gotta slow down. I get anxious when I'm doing these. The other strategy I would suggest, and this is one of the things I'm doing with my recommitment to comedy and the retired comic thing, and I'm putting a lot of time into comedy. I'm not seeking income, although I'm getting invited to do more and more events. What I'm doing is I'm testing my future. This has been a passion of mine, and I said, you know, I would like to do that. But guess what? In 1986, after I was voted one of Baltimore's funniest young comedians, I went on a tour as a professional comic for about 8 or 9 months, and I hated it. You're virtually living out of your cars. You go to venues where they didn't respect what you were doing, and I was serious about it. So anyway, what I'm doing now, and I recommend you do it too, not in comedy necessarily, but if you think you're going to go play golf every day, try and ask for a leave of absence and see if you really like golf as much as you think you do. Exercise yourself about the future. Take a leave of absence. Don't retire, essentially. There's a lot of options, but a lot of the people that I talk to that are hell-bent on retiring are not having fun. If you can find a way to do something that's more enjoyable, to let humor work in your life, it's less of a pressure-packed decision. I do hope to retire one day, but I certainly am not going to stop working. The question is, are you seeking success and joy, or are you fleeing failure? Not failure in the sense that you're failed, but failure in the sense that you're not happy. If you're not happy, get out if you can afford to get out. If you can't, if you got bills to pay, food to put on the table, you know, you can still search happiness eventually. But I don't know what I'm trying to say as far as how to finish this. But just because you're a man of a certain age and everybody asks you it doesn't mean that you should get emotional about retiring. You know, you can get emotional about having fun doing whatever it is you're doing. And if you're even discussing retiring, I'm assuming that you're close, and I'm assuming that you're healthy. And if you're not healthy, retire. Get whatever you can out of it. But the stress, they say if you work one more year, it's really like taking 3 years off of your retirement, because it's one more year of income to plan for your retirement, one less year of income that you'll take from your retirement, and one less year that you'll live because of stress. So that's 1 for 3. We met with a financial advisor, which I strongly recommend, a fee-only financial advisor that started to explain, really make this make sense to me. And they said, my wife and I, Vicky, we have X%, I won't say what percent it is, X% chance of continuing to live the lifestyle that we've chosen until we are 94 and 92, respectively. And the first thing I said is, babe, we can retire now, because I promise you, I'm not living until I'm 92. Unless I'm having a lot more fun than I see a lot of 92-year-olds have. So, all right, I don't want to get too deep on this, because it's about taking yourself less seriously, allowing yourself to make emotional decisions that make you feel at peace. Not everything has to be the perfect financial decision, and you do not have to retire just because you're a certain age and seek that freedom that I've seen go both ways for other people. I've seen a lot of people. Oh, one thing I've been doing at my comedy events is I've been finding a nurse, and I've been giving out a shirt. And maybe because this summer I'm over at Dickens Parlor Theater in Millville, Delaware, near Bethany Beach. Most people there are of a retirement age. And I've been giving away a t-shirt, but most of the people that I've been giving the t-shirt to, always a nurse. Most of them have been retired or semi-retired, and several of them have gone back to work one day or 2 days a week after retiring. So have at it, have fun. If I get a chance to be at an event near you, one way or another, social media, I'll try and tell you about it. I hope you'll come out and see us. And most importantly, I hope in your life, rather than feeling like you have to make a decision to please others, you'll please yourself by letting humor work. Let humor work.